Welcome back. Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli met on Wednesday U.S. Trade Secretary Wilbur Ross, where they discussed means of fostering bilateral relations and trade ties between Egypt and the United States. The meeting reviewed the new custom system and the amendments of the new custom law, as well as measure of implementing an electronic system for the custom services. The meeting also probed means of boosting cooperation between Egypt and the United States in the coming period, especially in the field of car industry and technology.
During his visit to Washington, Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli met with the Chief Executive Officer of the International Development Finance Corporation. International Development Finance Corporation was established recently to replace the Overseas Private Investment Corporation. He also expressed Egypt's keenness to cooperate with DFC, notably in the light of the state's policy of encouraging private sector to participate in the economic field to create job opportunities. Madbouli highlighted the significance of Egypt's position as a vital market, especially with the free international trade agreement signed with a number of regional countries.
Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli took part as well in a lunch banquet hosted by U.S. Arab Chamber Trade entitled The Remarkable Opportunities in Egypt. The Prime Minister addressed the gathering where he pointed out the available investment opportunities in Egypt and the incentives offered to the investors. He also reviewed the economic achievements implemented by the Egyptian government, notably decreasing the deficit of budget, retreating inflation to its lowest level, and reducing the unemployment rate.
During his visit to the Croatian capital Zagreb, the second stop of Eastern European tour, Foreign Minister Sameh Shukri held talks with Croatian President Kolinda Grabar in Zagreb. The talks covered means of boosting cooperation between the two countries in the light of Croatia's expected presidency to the European Union and Egypt's actual presidency of the African Union. Talks probed as well as several regional issues with mutual concern. The Foreign Minister's European tour also includes Austria, Lithuania and Latvia.
Under the auspices of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, the fifth round of Egypt Can conference kicked off on Tuesday. The conference, entitled Egypt Can with Investment and Development, tackles several issues, including means of enhancing Egypt's status on the international investment map and promoting Egypt's promising projects. More details.
The fifth edition of Egypt Can conference kicked off on Tuesday with the participation of 65 successful Egyptian expats. The two-day conference is held under the auspices of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and with the participation of Ministry of Immigration and Egyptian Expatriates Affairs and Ministry of Planning and Reform. Egypt Can conference is resuming its fifth round under the title Egypt Can with Investment and Development, inviting 65 of the top foreign investors. The Today show is hosted in Cairo and it saw the attendance of several ministerial officials, heads of major companies and civil society organizations, Egypt's development partners, as well as multiple investors and high-level Egyptian business and finance figures, all to integrate the role of Egyptian investors abroad into development efforts. The Ministry of Immigration stated that this year's edition of Egypt Can is held under the chairmanship of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi as the current chair of the African Union, making it a platform to mobilize the efforts of Egyptian investors abroad to invest in Africa. It noted that the event discusses the role of migrant women in investment in addition to young entrepreneurs, while shedding light on the investment opportunities in the agriculture sector. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Planning highlighted that Egypt Can presents the successful experiences of Egypt investors abroad in light of the importance of transferring knowledge and exchanging experiences while inviting them to tap the various national projects found on board. The ministry pointed out that the previous editions of the event have achieved their aims and managed to connect migrants with their homeland and development causes. On December 2018, the fourth edition of Egypt Can was organized with adopting the education theme in Hurghada. Egypt Can is a series of conferences held annually with the aim of giving Egyptian expats the opportunity to present their visions for different fields of development and their proposals to improve various sectors.
And to shed more light on the significance of holding the series of conferences of Egypt Can, we're joined over the phone by Dr. Zeynep Sadiq, Professor of Economics. Good afternoon, Dr. Zeynep.
Good afternoon, my dear.
Dr. Zeynep, how far, in your opinion, did these series of Egypt Can conferences reach its goals?
Yes, definitely. The conference of today can deliver a strong message through the different experiences that have been presented for today, the successful experiences of the Egyptians who successfully achieved a lot of good work, a lot of achievements in different countries around the world. So the message was clear from the entrepreneurs who have been working abroad since years and coming into our country, Egypt, again, presenting their experiences and presenting their exposure and trying to engage in the work of development and to start their new projects in Egypt. So this gives a strong message to what extent the economic reform and the economic growth has really achieved its fruit. In addition to this, also the very elegant speeches by the ministers who talked about the different reform programs in different sectors, it clearly gives a strong message of the fruit of the economic reform and how Egypt became a successful experience. And we can now accept different exposures and different experiences and new ideas to develop the country and to achieve more economic growth.
Right. Dr. Zeynep, since you're attending the conference today, what were the most important topics that were discussed so far and what's expected for the rest of the day?
Yes, the most important topics actually that I see is very important for the first session of today, that the entrepreneurs had talked about the importance of the vocational training, and Egypt had to work more on vocational training because we need the youth to work at different sectors and we need them to come back to the productive work. So it was very important to stress on the issue of vocational training for Egypt and to develop the country. And also the importance of the public relations and how that we should, Egypt now should be engaged more heavily with the international community to attract the different experiences and also to promote the Egyptian experts into the international world.
Right. Dr. Zeynep, in your opinion, what are the most important factors from your point of view that the state should apply to attract more investments to Egypt?
The thing that I think that we need more promotions. Yeah, I know that a hell of effort have been exerted in the last few years, but still we need more to promote for Egypt. I have talked about this before. I had an experience going to India and visiting different universities, but I still feel that we still need to have more promotions for Egypt and for the production and also for the economic reform, and to attract more investors coming into our country and also to promote to our exports. I think that a good effort has been done, but still more effort needs to be done.
Right. Well, this year's edition is held under the chairmanship of President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi as the current chairman of the African Union. How far does this edition, in your opinion, participate or contribute in boosting investments in the continent, in the African continent?
Yes, of course, the leading role we have for the time being, and what we are thinking now that Egypt is an integral part of Africa. Still, we need to work more in the African countries. Unfortunately, the amount of Egyptian exportations to African countries is about 5%, which is very few. So we need to encourage the exporters and Egyptian exporters to be engaged in promotions for their products into the African countries, and also to take the advantage from the African Union free trade area. So I think there are a lot of opportunities for the Egyptian exporters that they need to grasp and to benefit from.
Right, Dr. Zeynep Sadiq, Professor of Economics, many thanks for your insight.
And moving on with Panorama News, where the 5th conference of the General Secretariat for Fatwa Authorities Worldwide concluded on Wednesday. Earlier on Tuesday, the Mufti of the Republic, Shawi Allam, along with the head of the General Secretariat for Fatwa Authorities Worldwide, inaugurated the 5th International Conference of Fatwa Authorities. The event, entitled Managing Juristic Differences, a Civilizational Approach, was held under the auspices of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and attended by delegates from 85 countries. In the inaugural speech, Allam said that the focus of the discussions were on means of boosting tolerance and agreement among juristic sects, as well as the collective efforts to avoid fanaticism, while challenging extremist attempts to exploit juristic differences to mislead people. Speakers stressed their determination to exert efforts to utilize and manage juristic differences with insight and prudence.